What is up, everybody, and welcome into A to Z Sports Dallas Primetime. Tonight, we will go behind enemy lines to figure out who are the Chicago Bears. Because honestly, at this point, I don't know. And to do so, because the Cowboys will play the Chicago Bears on Sunday, week 8, to do so, joining us in the show is none other than founder of Sports Zone Chicago, Shawn Sierra, who, by the way, also is in the Hall of Fame of the Mid-States League 2013 class. He led the Italy League in rushing yards in 1994. And in his semi-pro career, he's been a two-time MVP. So, Shawn, I was saving that for until we went live. Welcome into the show. Thank you for joining us, man.
Hey, thank you, Mauricio. You know what? You didn't have to say the year. It makes it seem awful. Yeah, that was a long time ago, my man. That was last century. That was last century, man. So it a long time, but I appreciate it, man. Thank you very much. Thank you.
That's awesome. That's awesome, though. I was surprised finding out that you played in Italy and all of that. I once read this book. I don't know if you've read it, "Playing for Pizza" by John Grisham. Who that book is about a player that played in the Italy League, and that was a fun read. So that was an exciting thing to find out.
So what's really funny, 12 degrees of separation. So yeah, I did read the book Playing for Pizza. One of the guys that they taught, one of the contributors, I actually coached football with his brother. He's from downstate Illinois, and his brother had moved up here to coach. And when I told him that I had and I played in Italy, he said his brother played Italy as well. They did a book. They took some of his stories and everything, and I was like, get the hell out of here. That was so crazy. Just small world. But yeah, I did read that. That was a good book.
Yeah, that's fun. That's fun, man. Hey, welcome everyone in the chat. Do me a favor and hit the like button. Remember that every like puts this show in front of more and more Cowboys fans. Toxic Tom is already saying, Shawn, let Mo know that the Yankees got swept, because I'm a Yankees fan. Shawn, we were talking about this earlier. I'm from Mexico, so naturally I root for the Cowboys. I root for the Yankees. That's the way to go here.
So you're behind enemy lines. You're in Texas and you're rooting for the Yankees and not the Astros.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
See, I was rooting for the Yankees too. Sorry, Mo. I mean, Toxic Tony? Sorry, Tony. I was rooting for the Yankees. Like, you know what? Pardon me, but man, I'm not gonna forgive. I can't forgive Houston for 2017. You know what? Here's the thing. They didn't even need to cheat. That's the
Yep.
whole thing. They didn't need to cheat. They are that good. They are that good. Toxic Tom. Sorry, not Tony. Toxic Tom.
Toxic Tom.
Sorry.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Shout out to the people in the chat, both on Facebook, but both on YouTube. Thank you for joining the show tonight. Make sure that you share it as well. Remember that Primetime is brought to you by our friends over at Freeman Mazda. We will talk more about them on the Ride of the Week in a few moments here on the show. But before we do any of that, Shawn, let me tell you something. I love betting NFL games. For whatever reason, I was super busy on Monday. I didn't get to actually make a bet. But here are the 3 bets that I was considering making. I was considering taking the Patriots -8. I was considering betting the game under and the Chicago Bears team total under 15.5. But then the Bears blew up. I am so fortunate to have been super busy last night because I didn't get to make that bet. What happened with the Chicago Bears? Was that a one-game thing? Let me know from your perspective as someone who has followed the Chicago Bears, of course, all season. What happened on Monday night?
What happens is they took the reins off of Justin Fields. They let him play. So if you notice what they did, what they weren't doing in the first 6 games of the season was they weren't doing rollouts, bootlegs, waggles, things of that nature, getting them out on the edge and threatening the edge. Okay, putting cutting the field in half, putting the flat defenders in compromising position. They weren't doing that for whatever reason. I have no idea. Last night they did. All right, you saw tons of play action. You saw tons of quarterback runs. They had quarterback counters. They had quarterback sweeps, quarterback leads. The running game was and Justin Fields a big part of it. But the running game was on point yesterday. And luckily, or not luckily, but our offensive line is really good. So with the running game, we had 240 plus yards on the ground yesterday, which is insane in the NFL. And that opened up the play action pass, and he was able to sit back there a little bit and pick some people apart because the play action was working. You're sucking up the linebackers. You had to keep a guy in there to spy Justin Fields in case he was going to run. So what they did was they just finally took the reins off him. Nothing more, nothing less. This kid, when he first got here, I said, this guy's going to be it. And there's been a lot of conversation here in Chicago about he's a bust, he's missing receivers, he's doing this, he's doing that. And I try to tell people, I'm like, listen, it's his third offense in 3 years, his fourth play caller in 3 years. Okay. It makes a huge difference, especially those who don't understand football. They don't understand how difficult it is learning a new system. But the quarterback's not the only one that has to learn a new system. Everybody has to learn a new system. The wide receivers, the offensive line, the running backs, and pass pro. There's a whole tight ends as well. So it takes time, and it just people weren't happy with Justin Fields, and I try to keep telling people, hey, this guy is it. Give it time. Give it time. Give it time. And yesterday was a small sample of how good the Bears can be. They're nowhere near where they're going to be yet, but they're on their way.
Yeah, and when watching the game last night, I think that pretty much everyone who watched it couldn't help but think about that version of Justin Fields when he was in Ohio State, right? Because of the design runs, because of the rollouts and all of that. You got him on the move, and that particularly is somewhat of a concern to me as a Cowboy follower because, the Cowboys defense is great against the pass, is great when it comes to getting after the quarterback, but it struggles a little bit versus the run. And particularly, it can struggle against mobile quarterbacks. We saw that in week 6 versus week 5, versus the Philadelphia Eagles when Jalen Hurts was playing there. That was week 6, on Sunday Night Football. That is a concern to me because it does become a matter of, will the Chicago Bears be able to keep doing this at a high level with that offensive line? And more than anything, will they be able to force Micah Parsons to make decisions? Because that's what the Eagles did on that Sunday night matchup. They said, you know what? We're not even going to block Micah Parsons at all. We're going to run this RPO stuff, these play actions things, zone reads and all of that. And we're going to put Micah Parsons in a bind, play in and play out. That's what the Eagles were doing. Do you think that the Chicago Bears, with the way that they're kind of adjusting their offense mid-season, will they be able to do that on Sunday, do you think?
Oh, yeah, they're definitely going to do that. And it's funny you mentioned Jalen Hurts and the Eagles a couple of weeks ago. If people recall, and maybe your fans might not because then again, you're on the NFC East. But a year ago, remember, people wanted Jalen Hurts out. They thought it was a bust.
Yep.
They thought they wanted to draft a new quarterback, but you know what? Then all of a sudden he came in this year, and all of a sudden he's having a good year. Why? Because he's got help. He's got help at the receiver position. A couple of weeks ago, it was a game here in Chicago. They was on television, and they interviewed him, and Fox interviewed him, and he's walking in. The first sentence out of his mouth was, "This is the first time I've had the same play caller for 2 consecutive years since high school." Okay. That makes a difference. All right. That makes a huge difference. So Justin Fields is still going through his growing pains along with the offense. But let me tell you, if what the Bears are going to do, they're going to scout. They're going to see, hey, Jalen Hurts is similar to what we have in Justin Fields. How was he able to attack the Cowboys and be successful? They're going to see those things. And yeah, if I was the Bears, I'm definitely not blocking Micah Parsons. Say, hey, you got to make a decision, one or the other. Okay, because he's a great player, but he's not that great where he can cover 2 people at the same time. So I hope they follow that model that the Philadelphia Eagles did, and we'll see.
One question, because I think that this is an interesting point. I agree with everything that you just said about Justin Fields, about having help at the receiver position. There are some dudes in that offensive line. The center who was able to get back in the playing field this time around on Monday night played very well when we inserted back into the field. So I think that's an impressive unit as well. What was holding them back other than the play calling, if there is anything at all that you could point at? Because they were struggling over the last few weeks before that Monday night game. And it was impressive to me how much they were struggling. And I want to know if that is just 100% play calling, or is there some personal issues in there? What do you think is the weakness for the Chicago Bears offense beyond play calling?
Well, how much time do we have, bro? Because we
Yeah.
let me tell you. So first of all, some of it was play calling. Some of it was Justin Fields holding the ball too long. Some of it was his receivers not being able to get open, which is one of the reason that he was holding the ball too long. Other parts of it were the offensive line. Our offensive line is horrible in pass pro, unbelievable in pass pro. They're just unbelievably bad in pass pro. In run blocking, they're second to none in the NFL in run blocking.
Right.
So there's the issue. So then you have a rookie left tackle, fifth rounder, and Braxton Jones, who came from Southern Utah. So Southern Utah, the disparity and the difference between talent that you face in Southern Utah and the talent that you face here in the NFL is a huge, huge Grand Canyon sized gap. Okay. So he's getting used to that. He's not able to anchor. All right. So when you hit him with a bull rush, he's having big time issues. That's frustrating. Our center, Sam Mustipher, has not lived up to anything. He's horrible. I mean, he just hasn't performed at a high level at all. They had Lucas Patrick back last week, and then the second series, he gets hurt. His toe, I don't know, he might have turf toe or whatever. We didn't get the result, the announcement of what it was today. So the offensive line has been in flux. The offensive line has been fluid. They're moving back guys here and there. So they added Michael Schofield as the left guard now. Sam Mustipher's back at center. So all these changes are not allowing the offensive line to gel because you're always putting a new guy in. You're always putting a new guy in at some particular point. And the offensive, for those of you who know football very well, the offensive line, those five guys got to be there, the majority of the time. They have to, they have to work in unison. And when you keep getting a different guy in there, you're not going to be able to build that chemistry. You're not going to know what the guy next to you is doing. And that's part of the biggest issue with the Bears is when it comes to passing downs, Justin doesn't have time. And when he does, he holds the ball too long. The receivers don't separate. So there's a lot of things going on with the Bears. And they did a good job yesterday of mitigating a lot of those issues.
And that really makes it even more interesting because I can assure you that Cowboys fans watching the show couldn't help but, smile at that comment because the Cowboys have thrived when it comes to the pass rush, right? They are getting after quarterbacks. And specifically, I think what has made the Cowboys special is that they're not only doing it because of talent up front, and they have a lot of talent that, of course, I don't mean to say that they don't. What I mean is Dan Quinn is a absolute mastermind finding ways to isolate his best players versus offensive guards, finding those weak spots across the entire unit and really making the most out of it. He's putting Leighton Van Der Esch, the linebacker, he's mugging him up at the line of scrimmage, forcing the offensive line to honor him. And it's just a mastermind in just destroying pass protection schemes for opponents week in and week out. And I think that's been very special. That does make me question if the Chicago Bears are going to be more aggressive in early downs, because I think heading into week 7, the Bears were among the least aggressive teams when it came to first and second down, when it came to throwing the football. And I know they're a running team, but I do wonder if they want to get into as least possible third and long situations in order to not face that pass rush. Do you think they would be willing to move away from that usual way of doing things in which they run on first down, they run on second down, or do you think they will stick to what they do?
No, they're gonna stick to what they do. All right, you dance with who brung you, and they're not we're gonna run the ball. All right, we didn't sign a fullback in Kari Blasingame for no reason. Okay, the guy's in there, he's in there for a reason, and they're gonna run some power football. They're going to try to run a ball down your throat, and they're gonna try and win by attrition. So it's not going to be, we're not going to change at this stage of the game because at this point, this is what has gotten us. This is what's kept us close in all of our games except one. This is what has allowed us to win yesterday and opening day and one other time. So you're looking at a formula because the wide receivers are still improving. Darnell Mooney has some type of rapport with Justin Fields, but that's about it. All right, we just got N'Keal Harry back. a former first-round pick for the Patriots. He had a catch yesterday, one catch for 14 yards. We have Equanimous St. Brown, who had one catch, Byron Pringle. So there's a lot of new receivers. So there's a lot of moving parts, and Justin Fields doesn't have a lot of continuity and chemistry with these guys, a connection. So Darnell Mooney is really his only one. We got Velus Jones, we drafted in the 3rd round, who's supposed to be a little speed burner, but he hasn't gotten on the field. He's not a very good route runner yet. So they're going to do what they do well, and that's run the ball. So you may stack the box, and that's where, especially if we can attack you and exploit you and have some success on the ground, that's going to open up a lot of stuff behind. It's going to open up the passing game, the play action. And one of the things I really like is the fact that they're using Justin in the running game, because now you have to bring a guy. You have to have a spy on Justin, because if you don't, I mean, this guy is 6'3", 230, running a 4.4. So if you're not spying him, this guy can get upfield in a heartbeat.
That's the beauty of having a +1 quarterback, right? That can read and that can change the math up on you. So that's always beautiful to watch on the football field. I love that you mentioned Darnell Mooney, and I love that because I have him circled as one of the matchups to watch on this game, because the Cowboys lost their starting slot cornerback for the year in Jordan Lewis. And if I'm not mistaken, Mooney is the guy that spends the most time in the slot for the Chicago Bears. So that could be a matchup that really makes things interesting on Sunday, because the Cowboys will likely have a 5th-round draft pick manning the slot on Sunday in DaRon Bland. And Cowboys Nation loves Bland because he showed up in the preseason. He had a tremendous offseason as well. But I'm never happy about having to play a 5th-round pick in the middle of the season like that. I'm just, hey, I need to see it first. I need to see it in the regular season is what I mean. So I'm not excited about that matchup at all. Darnell Mooney can be a game changer on Sunday.
Yeah, well, they moved Darnell Mooney around, so it's a good thing. They might move him in a slot. They might keep him on the outside. So they move him around a lot. The issue is we don't have a set slot receiver.
Okay.
And they're trying to find other guys who can excel in that spot. They'll put EQ St. Brown in there. They'll put Byron Pringle in there. N'Keal Harry will most likely stay on the outside. He's 6'4", big body possession type receiver. But they're going to put, and I want to put Velus Jones. They put rookie Treston Ebner in there. They're doing some rub routes. So what they're going to do is they're going to try and pick people open. So they're going to have crossers, maybe the two slot guys cross about 3 or 4 yards deep, and one of those guys hopefully gets picked, and whoever's open, Justin throws the ball to. And those two guys are going to be fast. Those are going to be your burners. You know, the Darnell Mooney's. It could be Darnell Mooney. It could be Velus Jones. It could be Treston Ebner. Those guys are home run hitters. All right, if your back is turned and you're not ready, those dudes can take it a long way really, really fast. So that's going to come off of play action. That's going to come off of in straight drop back. So there's a lot of things that we can do. And the biggest thing that I'm looking for is of the confidence that they just gained by going out, being underdogs in New England against one of the best head coaches, if not the best head coach in the history of the NFL, guy who excels with defensive schemes. And not only did you win, but you dominated. So the amount of confidence that this offense has right now is pretty high.
One more question on the offense before we switch sides and look at the defense. What about what did the Bears like to do in the passing game? Because I know that they were doing these bootleg play action concepts and all of that, but I was surprised at seeing that Justin Fields has a top 5 average depth of target number. For example, he likes to push the ball downfield. How would you describe the Bears passing game in that front? Because I think that we saw a little bit more rhythm in the Monday Night Football game. We saw a lot more 1-2 reads, for example, and things like that. More, I don't know, it felt like quicker to me at times when they were not doing the play action stuff. I don't know if you would agree with me there, but how would you describe that passing game for the Bears?
Well, Justin likes to go deep. Justin has one of the best deep balls in the NFL. He's very accurate with the deep ball. And the part of the issue is that if you don't run the ball very well, okay, then there's really the play action doesn't work. All right. There's one's going for the fake. They've been running the ball much better. Like I said, they're top 3, top 4 in the league in rushing. So with that now, Justin's gotten more confidence. What he's been doing recently, he's been actually hitting his checkdowns, his short ones. He'll go through his progressions, and he'll take the check down, he'll take the outlet, he'll take the guy in the flat, as opposed to always trying to force it downfield. He tried to force it a lot early on. He did it last year. He did it a little early, a little bit this year, at the beginning of the season. But now, obviously, the coaching has gotten to him. Said, "Hey, listen, take what they give you. If you get a guy in the flat for 3 yards, hey, let him run, get another 2, 4, 5 yards, and now you're looking at 2nd and 5 or 4, as opposed to 2nd and 10. They want to stay ahead of the sticks. They want to make sure that he gets a rhythm, and the more passes he completes, especially short passes, all right, the more confidence he gets. So when he needs to sit back and let it rip, he'll be able to do that, because he'll have the confidence because of all the short passes he's connected with on early in the game.
I will tell you what, I will not be excited about this on Sunday. I hope that it doesn't show up on Sunday, but also deep down, I love that Justin Fields is being unleashed by the Bears right now. I love watching that on Monday Night Football for sure. Now, the 33 points that the Bears were able to score on Monday Night Football were in huge part thanks to taking the football away 4 times on defense. So let's talk about that defense a little bit here. A team that does not blitz, they have the lowest blitz rate in the entire NFL. I think that will not be a surprise to Cowboys Nation, because they know Matt Eberflus quite well. He was a linebackers coach here. Some people wanted him to be a defensive coordinator before he moved on and all of that. But they're about league average in pressure rate, so they can get to the quarterback without blitzing. They have a solid defense over there, and I know that you guys are excited about Brisker.
Brisker has really been a pleasant surprise. When I I was upset with that pick, because I wanted a wide receiver. I wanted a number 1 receiver for Justin Fields. All right, if they didn't take it with the first pick, because we had 2 second-round picks, we didn't have a first. It took Kyler Gordon with the first pick. I'm like, okay, so the second-round pick that we have, we need to get a number 1 receiver. Well, they didn't get a number 1 receiver, and they took Brisker, and I was livid about it, and I'm like, you got to give Justin Fields credit. So then I started watching a lot more tape on Brisker, and I'm like, wow, this guy's kind of a throwback. It's kind of like he could have played back in the 80s and 90s when you were allowed to hit people and hit people hard. He likes to separate receivers from the ball. He's a playmaker. He's very aggressive. He got his first pick, which was beautiful this past week. It was a one-handed job. He jumped up. He actually jumped past the ball and stuck his right hand up and corralled it and got his first career interception. But I'm loving this guy. He plays in the box, and that allows Eddie Jackson to be center field. Eddie Jackson's got 2 interceptions already in the season as well. So you know what, Brisker is despite the fact we didn't get a number 1 receiver, and we got him. Well, I love it. I have to. We can't switch him for now, but I do love what he brings. This kid is enthusiastic. He's young, and he's ready to separate the receiver from him. He's ready to make people reconsider playing the wide receiver position in the NFL.
And it's an interesting defense, because you've got Brisker, Eddie Jackson, as you mentioned, of course, the dude who is Roquan Smith over there at Mike. So there are a lot of big names on the Chicago Bears defense, and it showed up in the passing game more than anything. They're a top 12 unit in pass defense DVOA, but they're 24th versus the run. Opponents have been able to run the football on the Bears. What is the weakness there? What can the Bears do, or where can the Cowboys attack Chicago on that sense?
That's just it. There's your run game, and that's the area that I'm really, really, really concerned. All right, you got Zeke, and you got Pollard. So you guys have a phenomenal 1-2 punch. Like we have a great 1-2 punch here with the running backs with David Montgomery and Khalil Herbert. That's been our Achilles heel all season, is our inability to stop the run, and we'll bend, but we won't break. So it's going to be 2 good teams who run the ball, and whoever runs it better, more effectively, is most likely going to win. But I don't know what our defense is going to do, because that Dallas running game is tough. It is tough, and then the 2, like I said, the 2-headed monster that you have, they complement each other very, very well. And then all of a sudden now, when you pull it, now play action, now we have to make sure we got to be able to get back, and we're not caught up, because you got guys who can make plays behind it, and talk about your wide receiving core. So it's going to be an interesting matchup, and that's the biggest part of the game that I'm concerned about, is our run defense against your run offense.
And the thing about the Cowboys offense that has surprised me a lot is how physical they look up front. Like Tyler Smith moves people. And I, like you said about Brisker, I wasn't in love with the Tyler Smith draft pick at 24th overall because everyone was talking about how much it would take for him to transition into the NFL, the technique and all of that. But the technique maybe it comes later, maybe it doesn't. But right now he's winning based on pure strength, based on pure explosiveness, and he can move people. Terrence Steele is also just throwing people around at times at right tackle. Is that the weakness specifically for the Bears, the defensive line, or do you think it's the linebackers? Can the Cowboys get the most out of Chicago by just pushing them around in the trenches?
That'll be the biggest issue. That'll be the biggest way or the best way for you guys to come at us is just to literally come at us. We have smaller linebackers in Roquan Smith and Nick Morrow. So don't run away from them because they'll catch you. They'll chase you down from behind. If you run right at, we're talking they're 230 pounds, 235. A lot lighter than the stereotypical 240, 250, 250-pound linebackers of yesteryear. So you get a 270, 280, 300-pound lineman on them. They're not very good at disengaging from a blocker. So shedding blocks. So that could be the what they plan to do. And if you do, that might be very effective for the Cowboys because, like I said, our linebackers are a little undersized. They're super fast. They'll cover you. They can cover you. They can catch you in the backfield. They can get you TFL. They can cover you down the field. But if you run right at them with a fullback, with a lead blocker, or with a pulling guard, or just an offensive lineman in general, that's going to be a big issue for us.
Toxic Tom says, "Don't worry, Shawn. Our offensive coordinator will help your defense out and throw it 50 times. We got you." As you can see,
I hope so.
As you can see, some Cowboys fans are not happy at all about the play calling and how things have gone for the Cowboys over the last couple of years. Joey Bella says, technique. 6 to midnight with a question on the sacks record. Phil's going to check down to Diggs, to Samuel Rose. So some trash talking as well in the YouTube chat, Shawn, as you can see. That's how we roll here on ADC Sports Dallas Primetime. One question for you. 9 points is the betting spread. This is what the experts, the sports books and the odds makers are projecting for this game. Low scoring affair as well with a 42.5 points. Where would you lean early in the week? I'm not going to ask you to make an official pick because it's early. It's Tuesday. I don't get my picks in until Thursday. But where would you lean right now? Do you think that the Bears are going to keep this one close, or do you think that it's going to be too much?
No, they're going to keep it close. They'll keep it close. All right, they have a run game that is second to none in the NFL, and they have a really good defense. And again, the confidence that this defense is playing with, the confidence that this offensive line is playing with in the run game, definitely not the pass game, but in the run game, it's going to be huge. It's going to put a lot of pressure on that front seven, and you may have to make it a front eight if we start gashing you with the run, because if we do, man, it's going to be, if you can't stop the run, man, that's game, set, match. All right, there is there's an old saying in coaching, like you have to earn the right to rush the passer, which means you have to stop the run first. So if we're able to get off and get some positive yardage with the run game, it's going to help us out a lot. But also, it's going to shorten the game. It's going to shorten the game with holding the ball with time of possession, because I think we had the ball 38 minutes this yesterday.
Yeah.
And so you give someone 20 minutes. That's not a lot of time at all in the NFL. So that's what they do. This is how the Bears are going for this year, all right? Because of the financial constraints and the lack of draft equity that we had. This is how we got to win. And so this is what they're going to do. I told you, they're going to dance to who brung them.
Hey, this sounds like an old school smash mouth football kind of game, and I'm all for it. I want to see it happen. I want to see it on Sunday. I cannot wait. I will tell you what, though, a question, beyond the game. Cowboys Nation dreams about Roquan Smith. They dream about trading for the star linebacker. I personally do not think that the Cowboys front office would pull off such a move. I don't think that they will be that aggressive at a position that they seem to be confident in, even though Roquan Smith is an upgrade for anybody in the NFL pretty much. Do you think he moves, though? Do you think that he will end up elsewhere?
No, that's the $1 million question. All right, that's the $1 million question. There was a lot of drama for your mama regarding that whole deal because many of you guys don't know Roquan fired his agent, so he's negotiating
Yeah.
himself. Okay, so which is the worst thing? So in negotiations, you use, you use all the negative things about a particular person. There's some stuff that I know behind the scenes, that I know that the Bears were using against him in negotiations, and he wasn't happy. All right, which is why they were unable to sign a deal and sign an extension before the deadline. So you know what? I hope they can. And Ryan Poles, our general manager, was upset when Roquan said that he wasn't going to, he wasn't going to sign, that he was going to wait to the end of the year, and the contract talks had stopped. Ryan Poles was upset. Roquan Smith said he felt disrespected and by the low offer, and then Ryan Poles, that happened on a Tuesday, and then the last preseason game I think was on a Thursday. He came out and said, no. He goes, there were some record-breaking incentives in there for Roquan. So there's, Toxic Tom or Toxic Tony, whoever he wants to be. No, you're right. But that's the whole thing. Is like when you're negotiating, if you're negotiating for yourself, they're going to throw that in there, and it's very difficult for you not to take it personal. All right. Which is the whole reason why you have agents. That's the whole reason. But he fired his representation, and he's doing this by himself. And he thought it was going to be very similar to goodness, who just did that? Was it Kirk Cousins? There was another player who fired his representation, but nonetheless, it's making things a lot more difficult. This whole situation. So I hope we bring him back. All right, we have about $100 million in cap space next season. All right, so he can definitely get a chunk. I don't know if he's going to reset the market like Darius or Shaquille Leonard, whatever he wants to be called now, did a year or two ago. But I don't know if that's what he wants. Maybe he comes a little close, maybe a little less than Darius Leonard or Shaquille Leonard. I don't know, but trust me, he's going to have a lot of suitors for him, and you guys out in Dallas are going to be one of them. I say that he's going to, man, if you got a guy like Roquan Smith, this dude is shot out of a cannon every single play. So.
And that would fit right into what Dan Quinn wants in his defense.
Oh, he would love it.
This Cowboys unit, it flies around. I don't think that I've seen anything like it in recent years. Like they swarm to the football. Like you said, they like you said of Roquan, they are shot right out of a cannon. But at all levels, like defensive backs, linebackers, the defensive line, and I'm not even talking about tackle for loss plays or the sacks and all of that. Just regular plays. The play ends, and there's like 6 Cowboys around the football already. So that's pretty impressive always. Didn't Lamar fire his agent? Says Toxic Tom.
I think it might have been Tom. Toxic Tom. I think you're right. I think that was it.
Yeah, definitely is. Definitely is for sure. Shout out to Jonathan Taylor here as well in the Facebook chat. Well, we are about to close things up, but before we do that, I'm going to read an ad. But when we get back from the ad, Shawn, I need to ask you for at least one anecdote from playing professional football on the other side of the world in Italy, because man, that's an amazing story. I want to hear more about that before we get out of here. So before we do that though, let me talk to you about our friends over at freemanmazda.net, because the ride of the week is the 2023 Mazda CX-50 Carbon Edition. Make sure you check that out on their website. This one starts at $41,730. It's got all-wheel drive feature. It's got a sunroof, Wi-Fi hotspot, adaptive cruise control, hands-free lift gate, which is a game changer, and a miles per gallon capacity of 23 when you are in the city. That goes up all the way up to 29 when you are in the highway. So make sure you check that one out. And remember that when you choose Freeman Mazda, you're choosing a lifelong partnership with your car dealer. Once more, that is freemanmazda.net. Playing in Italy, Shawn, that has to be something quite different. I've covered Mexican football, Mexican pro football for 3 years now, and it's a different ball game for sure. What is it like in Italy? Is it like professional? Like, do you guys fill stadiums or not? How is it like over there?
So the stadium, it started to wind. When I got there, right out of college, literally right out of college. So I graduated Memorial Day of '93. I was home for a week, didn't have a job. And okay, I know your generation might not get it, but there was no caller ID. All right. It's
Yeah.
1993. All right. So the phone rings. It's a Monday morning. I get a call from one of my old high school coaches asking me if I had graduated. And I said, yeah. He calls me and said, "Do you want to play football in Italy?" I was like, whoa, you talk about one hell of a wake-up call. Sure. So he called me Monday. We went out to lunch. I flew out Tuesday, got there Wednesday, practiced Thursday, played Saturday because their season is in the spring. So it was crazy. I had a really good game that day. We traveled down the Rome. I had the most yards rushing against the Gladiatori. It was the team from Rome. And so the owner, Lucio, God rest his soul, Lucio Zanetti, he signed me for the next season. It was great, man. It was great. It was, if you've read that book, Playing for Pizza, it's awesome. So they gave me an apartment. They gave me a car. Back then, cell phones weren't really, big. So you had to collect calls. So I didn't call home very much. This is a few grand a month. But what was really, really weird was because of my game the year before in the playoffs when we lost to Rome, I couldn't buy a drink. They wouldn't let me pay for a drink. They wouldn't let me pay for a drink. They wouldn't let me, if I went out to dinner, they comped me. And I started feeling bad. I was like, wow, dude, like, I'm used to, you pay what you owe. And, I'm going out to dinner with either just me and like a female that I met out there. And they're like, oh, don't worry. No paghi, do Americani, no paghi. I'm like, so I'd end up giving like half, whatever it was of, I don't know how many lira it was. I think they might deal with the euro now, but it was lira back then as the denomination. And so I ended up giving them basically half of what the bill was. And so the waiters and waitresses loved me even more because the tip that I left. So it was fun. It was a little bit of a language barrier. I speak Spanish, but not fluently. And they're both derived from Latin. So I try and say some things that I figured, okay, let me try to use this in Spanish. And they were like, and they would laugh. Like my teammates would laugh at me and they're like, no, that's like old Italian. We don't talk like that anymore. And I was like, okay. But what was really cool was the camaraderie, very similar to what I had in high school and had in college. We would just bust each other's chops all the time. They make fun of me, I make fun of them, and they didn't realize how I'm a little bit educated. So they, I'd say some stuff back to them about the different types of people in Northern Italy versus people in Southern Italy, and that took them aback a little bit, but it was great, man. They're like, oh, he's a good trash talker, just like we are over here. It's just, it just needed some translation from the owner's son, but it was fun, man. I really had a blast. The people out there were unbelievably nice. There was a family that kind of looked after the American when I was there. They cooked for me, and every Sunday we had Sunday dinner and real homemade Italian meal, unbelievable. Just great. What was really real cool was the cestas. All right, siesta in español, pero the cesta, dude, every 12 to 3 every day they were shut down. That was unbelievable. I couldn't imagine that. I'm 21, 22 years, about to be 22 years old. And I'm like, wait a minute, my whole life in the States, it's like, you can't shut down between 12 and 3. You can't. There's no way. Like, you just can't shut down between, it's the middle of the day. And sure enough, in Italy, they did. There was just a slower pace of life. They just, everything was so chill over there, man. It was chill, and it was one of the best experiences I've had, and I've been fortunate to have a lot, and most of them have come because of football. So Italy was amazing. Got to see the which was really weird because I was 22. All right. So I don't know if you've ever been to Europe. Well, all the beaches are topless. So you got a 22-year-old guy out of phone. So you talk about feeling weird. So I'm out there. When I went out there the first year, literally with that hurricane of a week. So we got to go to the beach on Thursday morning. So I got there Wednesday. We practiced Thursday evening. So we went to the beach on Thursday morning, and there was just a beautiful young girl. And I was like, oh my God, like she just was topless because that's how you are in Italy. It's not as taboo as it is here. And so some of the guys saw me and they saw it's kind of like a little, not uncomfortable, but it took me aback a little bit. And they're like, all right, let's call her over. So they called her over. So she's standing there. She came over, is talking with us. And I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. Like, are you serious? Like, this is, and it was fun, man. Let me tell you, it was one of the best times of my life. And it's if you ever get a chance to travel to Europe, definitely hit Italy. I was up in north in Bologna, in where they make bolognese. You ever heard of bolognese sauce, the meat
Yeah,
sauce? Yeah,
for sure.
that's where it was originated.
That's crazy. That's crazy. I had to ask about that. Ladies and gentlemen, Shawn Sierra. Shawn, thank you for joining the show. Thank you for your Bears insight. I'm sure that the people loved it from what I can see in the chat. Toxic Tom, Gregory, thank you for joining the show. 6 to midnight, all of you. Flight to Italy booked,
Book,
says Toxic Tom. Are you
telling
kidding
you,
me?
man.
After
Let's just
hearing
say,
about the siestas, I am going to push for ADC Sports Italy.
that's a smart move, man. That is a
Yeah.
smart. Hey, Gregory. So when I went back the following year, yes, sir, Bob. I did go to the beach quite a bit. I did.
Man, that's crazy. That's crazy. I was not expecting the old Italian to be, pull out on you. No, that's old
I didn't.
Italian, and you were just talking Spanish.
So here's a real funny story before we let you go. So I'm in. They have these little. It's like a carniceria. I forgot what it's called in Italian. But so you go, it's like a deli. So they have all the meats, the cured meats, everything hanging there. And so I go in there and I'm like, oh, I'm hungry. So what do I want? Ham? And I didn't know how to say ham in Italian. So I'm looking. So I'm pointing. I'm like, un panini de. And I'm pointing. I'm just pointing at the slab of meat inside, and he's like, prosciutto. I was like, no, jamon. He's like, jamon. I was like, yeah, a panini de jamon. He's like, prosciutto. I was like, no, jamon. And we go back and forth for like literally 2 minutes. He's saying, no, jamon. He's saying prosciutto, no, jamon. And then I was like, yeah, this one. Yes. See. So he made it for me. And then I go back to the I talked to my coach and I'm like, dude, how do you say ham in Spanish? He's like, prosciutto. I'm like, oh, I said, that's what the dude was telling me. I said, I guess he does know Italian.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Hey, Toxic Tom says this was an awesome show. Didn't know football was popular in Italy. This is Toxic Tom. Hey, Toxic, do check out Playing for Pizza. That is a great book by John Grisham. I'm a sucker for John Grisham books. I know that that's super mainstream to say, but I will say it. I don't care. And Playing for Pizza is one of my favorites for sure. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that will do it for tonight's show. Shawn Sierra, thank you for joining the show and thank you for doing this.
Hey, no problem, guys. If you guys have any of your people, family members who follow Chicago sports, make sure you follow Sports Zone Chicago. We're on Facebook, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. We're at Sports Zone Chicago. On Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. That's CHI. And if you want to follow me, just follow me at the Shawn Sierra. That's THE. And you see my name, SHAWN SIERRA. The Shawn Sierra is good for Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok. I know I'm gonna be TikToking, but I gotta do it for this for my comfort for Sports Zone Chicago. So yeah.
There you go. That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you, Shawn. Thank you, everybody. I will see you tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Central. Nos vemos.